Welcome back to a brand new episode of Pop Kannon. This is episode 51. My name is Jordan.
I'm Robert.
And I'm Joe.
Guys, today we are discussing the entire season of WandaVision.
Series, really.
Yeah.
I mean, assumedly.
It's like a one-off. But
one shot, if you will.
Yeah, that's like a really great way to put it. So what do we think? Good, bad, overall thoughts? Who wants to start?
Yeah, Joe. Take it away.
I really loved this. It's new territory for Marvel, moving to TV, not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. notwithstanding. And it felt like we kind of said the same thing about Daredevil back in the day. Like, it was like a 6-hour movie.
Yeah.
And it really worked. The segmented storytelling really felt almost like reading a comic book, which like every week had a cliffhanger. It has a super different effect when you binge it all back to back, but it still worked for me as a fan. And I think it was a really great way to tell a self-enclosed story and kind of bridge the gap for a character between movies. And like, I love Wanda and I love Vision. Neither of them has really had a ton of time to shine on their own because they've always been in these ensemble movies. So it was really welcoming to see both Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen get so much time to shine in their own series. And I think they really just knocked it out of the park. And whatever concern I think fans might have had about like the legacy heroes like Iron Man and Captain America being gone, I think letting those characters like Scarlet Witch and Vision step up into these leading roles, if there was any concern on my part, it's gone now because I'm really excited for what's coming.
For sure. I mean, I agree with all of that.
Yeah, I do too.
I loved the show. I thought it was great. I did think about, like, if it were a movie, how much of it would have been more streamlined. Like, I think maybe the story would have been pretty tight if it was just a film, like a 2.5 hour film. It would have been like a really tight story. But I think they did a great job with everything, and I literally walk away with no complaints. Like, I don't have much to nitpick in it. I think it was just really good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and getting to dig deeper into Wanda's character, because like you said, she was been in ensemble casts the entire time. You know, we've gotten some of her, but we, you know, especially from the books themselves, like, there's so much to the character that it's like almost unconscionable that it's been this long until we've gotten more from her.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool. Like, one of my favorite little things, just like as an overall, was, I think it was in episode 4 where what was the guy's name? Hayward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was asking Jimmy Woo if she has like a nickname or anything like that, and he's like, no, literally no, she doesn't. And like, I just like that being kind of in a middle area of the season to just kind of underscore what we're doing here, you know. Like, I like it, just that moment just stuck out to me once I like thought about it at the end. Like, they're really telling you what's going on here very early on. So I like that.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Like, I really loved the show, and I just rewatched the entire thing today, start to finish, and I think it benefited from doing a complete watch through of it. Although watching it weekly did have its strengths, watching it all the way through, start to finish, in one sitting was fantastic. And it just goes to show the amount of foresight that they went into, like, how we're going to set this entire season up and how we're going to structure it. It gave me what we should have gotten in Spider-Man was a serious take on the blip.
Mm-hmm.
Which that for me stuck out the most this season, besides Elizabeth Olsen's performance and Paul Bettany's performances. But
we'll get into that.
We will get into that. But I'm just saying, like, we got a lot of really big moments out of this, and I think that just goes to show the importance that these Disney Plus shows have to the MCU, and how I feel like in a post-quarantine world, these are going to be what's leading the MCU into the next phase of what that is.
Yeah, and I want to go back to something that you mentioned at the beginning of that, was the binging versus watching weekly. Because I think that's a conversation worth having, especially with some of the blowback that the finale's getting. I think it's appropriate to at least discuss whether or not you'd prefer to watch this show one way or the other. And I think for me, it's way better as a binge. Because, as the internet tended to do, it ran away with zero information and people claiming to be sources and knowing all this stuff about what's happening and what's going to go down. And, like, that can only happen when you release it weekly. And similarly, in my opinion, to the end of Game of Thrones, people were entirely wrapped up in what they believed should happen because they read fan fiction and didn't actually pay attention to what was going on in the show because they're too busy trying to extrapolate any other meaning from what they're actually saying. But I think it was better as a binge, especially because it's just like, you don't forget as many of the little story notes that are going through, and like when you watch it all together, you recognize those characters immediately, as opposed to like, have we seen this person earlier? Was he over here? Was he in that? Like that kind of thing. So it helped keep that kind of stuff straight. But I think it was better as a binge. What do you guys think?
I personally think it was better as a binge, just because they were half-hour episodes. So it was very easy to go through and just... The story was very tight in general. I don't think that there was a single episode where I was like, okay, this is just dragging.
Filler.
Like, we got a nice 9-episode season-long story arc. And I even think the series could have benefited from being 8 episodes.
Wow.
But we'll talk about that when we get into the finale.
The age-old argument. Age-old argument.
Did they
like,
need
it should have been
less?
2 episodes short. I actually disagree with you guys. It was really refreshing to have this kind of weekly release, and just to have something to like look forward to at the end of the week, and also something to just kind of savor. Although I think we all binged it today just to like prep for this. But so I enjoyed binging it all at once, but I definitely think there's probably things I would have missed if I wasn't watching it week to week. And I also would usually like be so excited that I would go back and rewatch an episode before the next one. And you catch even more that way too. I don't know that I would rewatch it as often if I took it all at once and then kind of let it go. I also
there's somewhere on a graph, there's bingeability and rewatchability pass each other. Yeah. Somewhere. And there's certain shows that are immune to that somehow, like The Office, and for some people Friends. But like Parks and Rec for some people. Yeah. But typically
sitcoms
rewatchability versus bingeability cross each other somewhere, and you never go back to shows that you like burn through and don't think about ever again.
Right.
And they wanted to capture the viral nature of, and especially with everybody in lockdown or whatever, like having the captive of the captive audience to be able to, but like that just led to people unfortunately thinking things were breadcrumbs that just weren't, and nothing materialized for them. So the people that are living in this theoretical world of what the show's gonna be, and then when you get what it actually is, you know, like, for example, not to jump too far ahead, but the song is called Agatha All Along.
Yeah.
Right? And what was the first thing I texted you after that episode was, well, now I'm 100% convinced there's somebody else. Even though they're literally telling me it is her all along.
Yeah.
I still was skeptical in believing that there was going to be something additional with the words on the screen for me.
Well, you were very adamant from the start that it was Agatha, and I was worried that it wasn't going to be Agatha Harkness just because
they're so used to pulling a switcheroo.
Right. It seems like
they were going to Mandarin.
I don't want to say it seemed obvious, but like it seemed like too good to be true. So I was like, there's going to be something else that's going to be like a big twist. But no, it's exactly what people thought. But like the toxicity of fandom culture is definitely there. But I don't think it's a reason to totally discount it and make everything like a mass drop, especially when they're trying to like keep subscribers. Like there's a whole other like financial side to this decision besides like just trying to like restore like family values and weekly watching. But
there's also like the bottom line and you know, year over year and things of that nature.
But I do really enjoy like the fan theories, and like you guys know, like I get really sucked into them and I go like way down rabbit holes that like I have no business being in. But I personally, like, I don't get super upset when I'm wrong because I'm often wrong.
Well, that's just a self-awareness thing about the nature of it. And I feel like if more people exercise that, it'd probably be a lot safer for creators to try things as opposed to going like, don't want them to get upset. Everybody's got to go home happy.
Yeah. But it's also not in Twitter's best financial interest for people to react healthily to things. So
there's a mechanism here that's churning all over the
the combustion engine of Disney versus Twitter.
Talking about the bingeability and the rewatchability, I feel like this series specifically has a lot of rewatchability.
Yes.
Considering how dedicated they were to recreating sitcoms of the specific era of each episode, and I loved that. That was one of my favorite things about this show was the attention to detail.
And like, speaking of that specifically, like those first 3 episodes, the 50s, 60s, and 70s, essentially hold up as their own sitcom.
Yeah.
Like throughout, which is a really fucking like the levels of that, of telling the story we're not telling, and then telling the literal story that we're telling as a sitcom, with like all of the implications and the winks and shit. Like it's operating at a completely different level. But like as a show, within the framework of the show, it was like very entertaining, and they played with all the tropes and all the stuff of the each era, and I thought that was like brilliant.
That was something that was trending when those first episodes came out. People were like do we have to leave this world? Like I would just watch this. And on my rewatch, like I realized that I caught myself, like I was getting sucked into the story of her show rather than like trying to pay attention more to like the characters and what's going on, which isn't a bad thing.
No. And like the 50s one, I feel like it's obviously Dick Van Dyke because they circle back to that a couple of times, but there's also like the I Love Lucy element to it.
Agatha's song is like a Munsters reference. It was crazy. Everything has roots in something from TV.
Yeah.
And then the 60s one,
that was Bewitched. I thought.
That was Bewitched.
Yeah.
That was more Bewitched than anything else.
Like the 90s and the 2000s was Malcolm
in the Middle. Yeah. I have so many thoughts about Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like the genre's placement on her timeline it's about her like journey through grief and like
Yeah.
If I could take a minute to tangent about Malcolm in the Middle.
Because you're saying it's about, and it's basically, it is the 5 stages of grief, and that's how they're kind of going through them through the prism of each of those eras and what those eras represent to those stages.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy deep thought process about it. But like, once you get to the Malcolm in the Middle one, I think that's like the 4th stage. So you're not even at the end yet necessarily, because we still have to get to the Modern Family / The Office episode with the mockumentary style sitcom.
Right.
So like the 4th stage of grief is where Malcolm in the Middle is positioned, Joe. So take it away from me.
Well, also right before Joe starts, I just want to say when her father gets home from his day, all of those different series are what's in his briefcase.
Exactly.
So go on.
Yep.
That's the other thing, they did a phenomenal job, just like justifying it within the world. And I love that. I like that the MCU doesn't always, I don't know if they've never done it, but most of the time they don't retcon things. They just expand on what's already there, which I really love. Like, nobody likes Joss Whedon anymore, but like they took what he left for them and they didn't like throw it in the garbage can. They just said like, there's something more here. But Malcolm in the Middle has like a special place in TV history. Like it took off just because it was willing to show more of an honest family than I think when I was theorizing, I thought they were going to go with like Full House for like the 90s show. But Malcolm in the Middle is such a different and better choice because it's showing an honest family. It's showing vulnerability. And it's also showing Wanda kind of giving up more control of her show, which also as she moves into the like Modern Family office time, that's more of like a resignation phase. So she's completely, it's called Breaking the Fourth Wall, that episode. So it's really just like, I'm not really holding up the illusion that we're doing. Like,
yeah. And I mean, throughout that situation, when she's being almost a better Claire Dunphy than Julie Bowen.
Yeah. Yes.
She's like, she's saying all of those things. She's like, she's not there. She's just going to lay in bed. She sends the kids away with this woman that lives next door. She doesn't care. She's like, go with her. Yeah. I'll figure it out later. And she has to. But that's another like way to tell that story via a sitcom, is to make her have to then go there and find them. She was so willing to brisk them away that now she has to go save them. But I love the 50s episode. Like I saw some person or some post where the first 2 or 3 episodes were getting grief. It was like somebody was like episodes 1, 2, and 3 of WandaVision, and it was like a face that was like not impressed. And then it was like episodes 4 through 9 of WandaVision. It's like a guy like smiling with like an okay. And I was like, that's kind of bullshit to me, because those 3 episodes are what made everybody go fucking crazy.
Yeah. And the other thing is
the frenzy to find information.
Yeah.
Was insane.
The other thing is the quality of these. Like, it's made to look like gimmicky, like in the show universe. But that plays really well because they committed so well to recreating those worlds. But then whenever you're outside of the hex, and I love the ratio changes that felt,
the aspect ratio changes.
Yeah, it felt very like Noah Hawley, like Legion-y, especially with like the themes of Legion. But you never really feel, it's never apparent that like, oh, this is a TV show. Like this feels like a Marvel movie. Like the quality is all there. They didn't really pull any punches with that, which I really appreciated. Speaking of Disney's money, they weren't wasting it, at least.
No, definitely not.
So let's talk about that for a second. The legacy of the MCU on Disney Plus now.
That's a different show, Jordan. It's called Legacy. Before every Disney Plus show, they will release episodes based on those characters to catch you up on where they're at.
It's because I didn't watch it, so I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I haven't watched any of the Legacy stuff.
Falcon and Winter Soldier just came out.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I'm not watching that. I'm going to watch that, and then I'm going to roll into the first episode, just like I did with this. I watched the Wanda one, I watched the Vision one, and then episode 1 of WandaVision, and that's how the fuck I did it. It's awesome. They were like 7-minute episodes, and they caught you to the second of where that character was the last time you saw them, and then the show starts.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's brilliant that they did that.
What do you guys feel regarding just the next couple of things being like TV shows as part of the MCU?
I mean, it's...
Because, Robert, I know a few episodes ago we had talked about being hesitant moving towards this direction. How do you feel now, having watched the very first series?
No, I'm super confident in it now. Yeah. I mean, because I just think that this was done so well. I mean, there's no telling in hands of other creators whether or not it's going to be as good. But it's certainly not going to be bad. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like going forward, it's at least going to be like, okay, that's cool. Whether or not you're never going to, I feel like you can't hate it.
I feel like that's anything
progressing
Marvel,
the characters
though.
that you're already invested in them.
Yeah.
So you're never going to hate it. It's just going to move forward a little bit more. So whether you don't ever have to revisit it, like certain MCU movies that I don't necessarily have to rewatch, because I know what the story is, how we got there, and I don't have to go back. You know, but there's certain ones that I watch over and over and over and over and over and over again because I think they're fantastic films. So like, I don't know where this is going to fall into that, because maybe it's a little bit more time than you're willing to invest right up front. But like, I don't know how you're going to be able to going forward be like top 5 MCU properties, things that exist within the MCU film wise, and you're going to have to try to like rank an entire series, a season of television versus like a film. And it's going to be very, very, very difficult and muddy going forward.
That's kind of... So the reason that I love this is because of just the sheer size of the MCU right now. Yeah. And the fact that you can only get like 2, maybe 3 movies every year. And we even said in one of our discussions that Doctor Strange came out 5 years ago, and we only saw him again in Infinity War and a little bit in Endgame. So I think any opportunity to have more content and to have stories with these characters that, like you said, move them along, and then they're able to be in a different place before the next big team up or whatever the hell. Like, if I can see a story again that's not just like the opening scene trying to tell me what's happened in the years between Age of Ultron and Civil War, I really appreciate that there's that time made for those characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like, those middle stories are what comic books are. Yeah. But it seems like most of the time film for superheroes is usually the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
You know, we don't ever spend a lot of time in the middle of like where a comic book story arc would be for a character. So it's when you get the opportunity to see that, you know, you have to like first acknowledge that that's what you're getting and accept that it's not going to be, it's going to transform the character in a way, but it's not going to be so transformative that it's going to like shake the fucking earth of the universe.
You mean completely
because
change
it's a
the
smaller
character?
Scale story.
Yeah.
But it's going to change the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Wanda's transformation through this show shatters the core of the MCU right now. But like, it did, like, what happened in Westview is a small contained thing that's over with mostly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're going to get branches of it that hit elsewhere, but there'll be references like the MCU does so well, rather than like how we keep hearing about Sokovia and what happened in Sokovia. Like, it's not, Westview is not going to be that level. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the difference in the weight of those stories to me.
I think it also gives them an opportunity to cast more of like a focused net, whereas like the movies, they're trying to bring in as many people as they can.
Yeah.
I think they can have more of a targeted audience. Like, WandaVision is I would say, a lot more of a mature theme than we've seen in most of the MCU. Like this, just like a hyper-focused study of grief through like a lens of sci-fi. That sounds more like an A24 movie than a Marvel movie to me.
Oh god!
And then
Now I
like
want to
looking
cut the
forward
trailer.
to looking forward to like She-Hulk, where it's going to be more of like a legal comedy. I think that's going to serve a different audience maybe than WandaVision.
For sure.
Whereas like every like hardcore Marvel fan is going to take all of it in. I think there's also going to be some casual subscribers who just come across these shows that might not buy into everything else in Marvel.
And that's a really good point too, because considering all of the different genres that they could explore using TV, I think that's what excites me the most, because I'm a television guy more so than a movie guy, because TV allows you the opportunity to really delve into characters and stuff, and TV was able to bring us Agatha Harkness, which I think is one of the stronger MCU villains.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, that scene alone in the penultimate episode with her at the stake in Salem, Massachusetts, was awesome.
Yeah. Like her whole story through the show is Agatha Harkness is fantastic, I feel like. And that's a character that like would probably never make it into a film, or would at least be relegated to like Wong in Doctor Strange, where like you're not really getting a lot from that character, but you know enough to be like, okay, yeah. So like the fact that you get a TV show that gets to bring you Agatha Harkness to the screen in any way is pretty cool. And the fact that they left it open at the end of this to the possibility of needing her in the future, I think is really awesome.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like she would just have no choice but to help Wanda. Like there's no way that she'd be able to do anything against her. She proved that. So like now that's like her new coven mother, if you want to put it that way, or some shit. Like she became like the apex witch of the universe or something. Like it's really cool to think about in that way. And the possibility of Catherine Hahn coming back. She's fantastic. She was fantastic. She was like, I mean, Elizabeth Olsen like was the lead, so she gets the gold. But I mean, like, Agatha Harkness was like the MVP of the show, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, she really tied the whole thing together.
Yep.
Every time she would stroll in like to a scene, she would kind of steal it.
Yeah. But Catherine Hahn's been doing that forever.
So long. Playing
bit parts and small parts in movies and being the thing that you quote from it, like Anchorman.
Yeah.
And the like Step Brothers. I mean, she was fantastic in that. So it's so awesome that she gets to play in the sandbox here now.
Absolutely. I love Catherine Hahn.
Yeah.
Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen, her performance, my God.
Unbelievable.
Swapping accents on a dime.
I'm glad that they addressed that, though, because a lot of people had so many issues with her dropping the accent from...
And picking it up.
Yeah.
The thing is like, nobody has an issue if you drop the accent. It's once you then retrieve the accent randomly for no reason is when people are like,
well, it's like,
hey, maybe don't.
It's a comment about representation, though, isn't it? Because she never saw anyone on TV that spoke like her. So why would she go into her fantasy world sounding like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it just goes to show, like, she's been in America for a few years now. She's bound to, like, start to sound
and among the
more...
Avengers, too, not just, like,
but she gets it back, which is a good thing, too.
Yeah.
Like,
she
that's
doesn't lose
who
it
she
completely.
truly is. Yeah.
And I like that, but I like the commentary on like she would speak the way that TV taught her to speak, but she was also like playing parts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
So, which is like another meta layer of the whole show is that Elizabeth Olsen got to be a person playing multiple parts, which was like fascinating to see her do, because I think she did great, but I really do think that the best one was her Modern Family bit. Like, that is just, I mean, every one of them I love.
Yeah.
Like the 50s one for sure, 60s one absolutely, 70s great, the 90s one, I mean, it was weird, but it was like fantastic to see her like that. And then she hit the home run emulating Claire Dunphy. Like, that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Paul,
I mean, I'm just gonna that's a show that I'm like currently binging. So Modern Family. So like to watch WandaVision, that episode, and then like have watched Modern Family very recently, it's like,
You're like, which one am I watching?
yeah, because she hit like all of the pauses, all of the comedic timing.
Dude, her mannerisms even were like so spot on. It was scary.
Holding the cup and like the so good.
They said they
She's
had to
so
go
good.
to like sitcom boot camp, so they studied these roles as if it was like Shakespeare almost.
That's so cool.
And
That's
Paul
so
Bettany
cool.
on the same note, like,
Yeah.
when he was Jarvis, he was like a little snarky, but like as Vision, like the humor kind of came from his like philosophical deadpan a little bit. So to be able to see him like having fun and just be like a joyful character was very refreshing.
Yeah, and dude, Vision was so great throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just the character in general, like the fact that remembering him, just the idea of remembering him as like super analytical of stuff would then make the AI of the character implode on itself and become self-aware. Like, he became self-aware almost instantly.
Yeah.
Like, episode 1, he's like, what are we doing here? But maybe it's also like a commentary on like the natural order of things and him knowing that it's not real. Like, he instantly knew that there was a problem. The character.
Something's not right, he kept saying.
Yeah, immediate red flags for him, just based on like his knowledge of everything. He's like, something's fucking up here.
So what do you guys think about the idea of Wanda bringing Vision back to life as like just this idea?
It's crazy because she used the power, like the connection that they have through the Mind Stone, to regenerate him, and she did it so well that Hayward's computer was picking him up as vibranium.
Yeah.
Because that's all he was tracking was the vibranium signature.
Yeah, the decay of vibranium. Which
So,
is
like,
interesting because that's how he said, like, she stole his body. When she never did.
She did not. But, like, she was so good at it. Her magic is so powerful.
Yeah. Well,
that she created vibranium from nothing.
Agatha even says she's the only witch with the power of spontaneous creation.
Yeah.
So she can create matter out of nothing, which is physically illegal.
and her children are also another form of that as well.
Yeah. Right. And I think this also kind of further digs into the idea that like the Infinity Stones aren't gone, and also we kind of just scratched the surface of what they're capable of and like what they actually are.
Because both she and Captain Marvel are essentially in the same area of power because they got their power the same way.
Right.
Not, but like, and we discussed that via text, but like, we all agree that Scarlet Witch had some sort of innate witch magical ability that was then affected by coming in contact with the Mind Stone.
Right.
It imbued her with more power. It fused whatever she had going on with what it has and became the chaos magic, which is not necessarily the way that the comic books deal with chaos magic, but it makes sense in the MCU to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we might get more. I feel like the Eternals will open the door to more answers on all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Which
too.
will then hopefully tint the rest of the MCU in a way that you didn't realize. That's what I'm hoping for out of the Eternals anyway.
Yeah.
So Joe, what do you think about Wanda bringing Vision back?
I believe what she said, that it was really just she made a body for the piece of the Mind Stone that was within her. Yeah, I think it was exactly what he said. He's just like a memory brought to life. So she didn't really bring him back in any real capacity.
Yeah.
Hayward really did.
Yeah.
But I love how it was done, and I, like Robert said, I love that boss battle kind of flipping on its head, where it started as like a Superman fight with them flying around and shooting each other, but then it ended in a very in character way of just a conversation.
Dude, one of my favorite moments from the whole show was the Visions having the discussion about, what was it?
The ship of Theseus.
That. Like having that philosophical debate spinning around what looked like a library, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I think is even more funny. Having that really deep philosophical discussion and realizing that they are the opposite side of both of those
things. Yeah.
Like that theory.
Yeah.
Like they're the opposite side of that theory. So they're both him, but neither of them are really him.
Yeah.
And I think everybody thought that he was going to fusion dance and become one. But
I never thought I'd hear Robert make a Dragon Ball reference.
But I think it's probably for the best that they didn't.
Yeah.
But Vision essentially gave it to him, though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like by using his finger as like a USB to drop all of his information into his external.
Did he get the information from the series, though?
I think.
What's that?
Does he have the memories from WandaVision, though?
No,
from the series?
I was going to say, I think it's really interesting, though, that, like, the WandaVision vision exists solely within this show. And within, like, her mind now.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But, like, he just had so many of the most profound observations.
He
and
always
like,
does.
It was just like, I mean, in the last episode, for sure, Vision had me crying. Yeah. Like, for sure. But the episode 8, where she's walking her through, like, her history and everything like that, Vision and her on the bed having that discussion was just, like, so deep. So deep. It was fantastic. I love that we can get those moments because, like, that's literally a moment that's on the cutting room floor from a film.
Yep.
So, like...
because it's not snappy enough or whatever,
Yeah, there's no time to show all of that in the course, but, like, you know that they're existing otherwise within the film. So it's cool that they went back to that.
Yeah, and it's super quotable. I was just going to say it was just a super quotable line.
Yeah.
That's like the I Love You 3000, like...
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little more nuanced than that.
I wasn't sold on a WandaVision series a year ago. Like, the thought never appealed to me more than, like, oh, that's cool, I'll check it out. After watching this, I really just bought into their relationship. Like, it's very clear watching it, even in those first few episodes, the chemistry that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany share on screen, it's just like magic when you see them as Wanda and Vision, like, together. I believe that relationship. I believe their love. I believe they genuinely care for one another. So it's cool that we got to see more of that relationship blossom. And
it's really profound that the abomination Vision that was created or on purpose, but for nefarious purposes, won't have the memories from Westview. That's fucking crazy to think about, because how sad is that going to make her when and if they come face to face again and he doesn't remember all of the stuff that, like, because he's not going to remember the children.
Yeah,
and
that's what I was going to say.
All of that. So that's like really that's really deep, because that's going to be even more sad for. But, like, I love that he just fucking pieced out.
See, I didn't like that. I wanted more resolution from that. But
like that's the thing, is that now you have no idea what piece of content you're gonna be watching that Marvel puts out, and then fucking Bright White Vision's just gonna fucking be there in the corner somewhere. Like, he's just gonna pop up.
He must have gone to space. That's what I think.
Dude, but that's the thing. You have no idea. Is he gonna be in Guardians 3? Is he gonna be in Doctor Strange? Is he gonna be
Silver
in
Surfer?
Like, dude, you have no idea. You have no idea. Is he going somewhere cosmically to rip open a hole through space and time to let the mutants in himself? You don't know.
He went to Mars.
He's just sitting on a rock. I'm tired of these people.
Waiting for the dust to turn his skin red again.
He just becomes Dr. Manhattan.
What did you guys think of the twins?
I love
Joe.
I love Billy and Tommy. I love Young Avengers, especially Kieran Gillen's run. They're such good characters, and I'm so glad we got the post credits. That, like, I'm glad that they like stuck to the kind of comic story where they're gone, but then they left it open for them to come back as well. And I love that with them, and then all the characters that are on the horizon, like Miss Marvel and Kate Bishop. We're really kind of barreling towards like a Young Avengers or Champion story. I'm very excited to see if that's resolved in Doctor Strange. I wonder.
I feel like it's got to be part of it.
It's got to. I honestly, I can. I'll save it for the our future pontification. But
okay. Yeah, but I like them as characters. I'm not familiar with them from the comic books because I haven't read like any Young Avengers or anything like that. But I know that they're part of the team, and it seems like they very quickly assembled that team and got them on film, and they're ready to go.
Yeah.
So like Young Avengers is for sure like simmering on the back burner, ready to pop, because that's definitely going to happen.
I feel like they've like filmed it already. I feel like they secretly filmed it already during quarantine. Like, it really wouldn't surprise me if Marvel one day just dropped on Disney Plus a Young Avengers film.
That would surprise me.
But so that's the thing. Like, do you think that Young Avengers would be a film, or would that be a series? Because all of these characters, right. I think most of them will have been through the series. Then
it could be a direct to Disney Plus film.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, that's what I can see happening.
I see series more, but
yeah.
I
just think because most of the characters are coming out of the series, so I think that they would just continue that forward.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It didn't necessarily work well for Netflix to team up their series together. So.
I liked the twins better the second time around, watching it in a binged way. Week by week, at first, they kind of annoyed me, and I was like, "Oh, what is this gonna be?"
Well, they were crying, so.
But as soon as they like got their powers in that one episode, I was just like, "Oh, okay, they're like doing a whole thing with them." Because, like Robert said, like I haven't read any comics with them in it, so I hadn't known any backstory or anything. I don't tend to look into that kind of stuff while I'm watching something.
Oh yeah. No, I'll wait to the end. I'll wait to the end and I'll read everything that exists about them.
Exactly.
But I won't muddy it during it, because then I'll expect something.
I also love that with the twins and with Monica, you kind of have this opportunity to give an origin story to a character within another person's story, which is kind of how Wanda and Vision's origin happened anyway in Avengers Age of Ultron. But being able to kind of skip that first movie curse of like it's all about their origin, and then drop her right into Captain Marvel 2 as Photon already. That's a really interesting idea going forward.
You've seen what her powers are, but never like explored in any way.
Right.
So you know what she's capable of. So you're like, her with Captain Marvel, whatever the fuck they're dealing with is gonna get its ass kicked.
Yeah.
So
introducing characters within other things, I think, is really tricky. And I think they did a really good job with Monica, especially. Like, a lot of her scenes, like when she's in the hospital and she is finally told that, like, her mother died 3 years ago, and that was 2 years before she disappeared. Like, that was such an emotional scene, and you could see it in her eyes. You could see, like, the way she emoted was great. And
Teyana Paris really just
she
blew
was
it away
unbelievable
in a show that, like, she was not the star of, but, like, she brought everything to it. It was amazing.
I feel like pretty much everyone in this cast, like, brought it.
Well, how did you guys feel about, like, returning characters like Jimmy Woo and Darcy?
It's welcome to see them. like why wouldn't you utilize what you've already? I mean, obviously, if the people are available to do it, but like
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
but why wouldn't you otherwise? Like, I think that's a great idea. It's stupid when production companies don't utilize the stuff that they have at their disposal already, that they don't have to pay anything for. You already fucking have these people. Just because the more that you build on that, the deeper all of it becomes,
and the more important it becomes.
Because then you're gonna be like, oh well, he was here for this, but then that happened and he dealt with that. Like, so you're getting all of the character weight, so the next time you see Jimmy Woo, you know he's been through some shit already.
And now Jimmy Woo is associated with these characters as well as Ant-Man. So like Darcy is,
she's
like,
connected to a whole bunch of them now too.
So
but like in a
just
different
building
trajectory
upon what you already have.
It's awesome.
Love that.
I think the actors and actresses that they had obviously are fantastic. Randall Park as Jimmy Woo is awesome.
Dude, and when he showed up the very first time, he pulls his business card out with a card trick. And I was like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want from this character.
And then he, like, breaks the handcuffs and he says flourish because he saw Vision do that in his magic show.
Dude, yes. So good. Such good, like, callbacks.
He's so charming. And I love Darcy's role just because, especially with the Thor movies, the first one especially, so much of the focus on where science and magic intersect. And then bringing magic more into the MCU with Wanda, but also saying, like, you think that you don't have magic, but it's all the same thing, really. It's all just a different kind of thing.
And utilizing her for that, to be a familiar face with the science of the magic, like in this show, just, you know, and because Jimmy Woo associated with Ant-Man, which is like the heavy sci-fi stuff that they're doing in Ant-Man, like, it just perfect combination of people from other stuff to build a bigger and bigger snowball as it continues to roll down the hill.
Let's talk about the Scarlet Witch. I loved that reveal because it didn't come across as hokey to me. I know we talked about it prior, but it didn't. And even on the second time around, it didn't.
No.
Because it's not like a goofy nickname like, oh, you're Captain America or whatever, you know? Like, it's a legend. It's a thing that they talk about within the book. So it played really well for me.
The Book of the Damned.
Book of the Damned.
Yeah, like, it was really cool the way that they introduced, like, Wanda seeing the Scarlet Witch, which is a completely other discussion that we can have as to what she saw, because apparently people are like, she went back in time to give herself power to save her. I don't know. I think that's a little bit much, where I think it's just like the Scarlet Witch is like a title, or maybe even a curse, not necessarily a curse, but it's like a thing that you get and you become,
Right.
like you take the mantle of. Like, I believe that there's been a millennia of Scarlet Witch before her, and she's just the next one in line of Scarlet Witches that have existed through time.
Maybe, yeah.
But then there's the other theory that she is the singular Scarlet Witch through all of the timelines, and she is the nexus of that. So there's also that theory floating out there as well. But I just think that she saw what she needed to see to get through it, possibly. Like, I don't think that it's necessarily that deep. Everybody's going a little bit crazy with it, I think.
Well, I think we also know the Mind Stone has its own kind of sentience. Like, the stones all have something more than just this passivity of being rocks. Like, especially since, like, Ultron and Vision were both, like, birthed of the stone. So I think it has its own kind of autonomy, and it, whether it saw this in Wanda or gave it to her, I think probably saw it within her, and really just helped her out and also gave her a preview of it.
And it looked really awesome and was like ghastly, but also like breathtaking somehow. Like, it was very like.
Are you talking about her costume or the vision she had?
Just the vision that she had, like the silhouette of it and everything. Like, it was really.
I think she saw herself somehow, but
yeah, but I don't think she like cut through time.
I don't think it's like her in the future.
Yeah,
but I think
that's
like
that's a crazy.
It's
theory.
like a vision of herself,
right,
that she was able to come and unlock later.
Yeah, and I love that she takes it on, and then Agatha kind of is explaining to her what she is, and on the page, like the character, and then there's there's hexagonal shapes around her within another hexagon. So it's like all of that idea just kept building on itself. And then in the post-credits scene where she's in, arguably, apparently, she's in her astral form studying the the book, she's got the shapes around her the way that the book shows that they go around her. So she's like, and it also kind of looks like she's conjuring the energy while she's also like utilizing it, so she's powering up or something. Like, or she's like traveling through another plane or some shit. Like, it's crazy to think about all the shit that she could do.
So I want to point out, where do you think she is in that post-credit scene? Because in my brain I'm like, is she in Canada?
Oh, near a certain Weapon X facility, perhaps? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know.
I was just going for that because I was just looking for any excuse this entire season to
for
just
X-Men?
Bring the X-Men in.
Well, like, it's perfect because she's the perfect bridge for it. You know what I mean? Like, she's the perfect bridge for it. And her final costume, I keep seeing the side-by-side on Instagram that somebody did with Michael Fassbender's Magneto costume and hers. The coloring and the design are very similar. They're very similar.
But it's also very like MCU-y. Like, it looks kind of like Hawkeye's vest almost.
Yeah,
like,
because she has like, it looked like there were, for lack of a better term, pinstriping or whatever of like blue on her legs, and his costume doesn't necessarily have that, but like the tones of the colors are the same, and like I think like the more I looked at that picture, the more I was like, were they going for that?
I don't think so.
Because it looks, not that it looks intentional, but it definitely is like they're really sniffing the same territory. And if that was accidental, like, wow.
Yeah.
I think it's just circumstantial, personally. But...
Well, then, like, wow.
I think it's just like a cool red color because she's the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
But
it is a great red color, but it's also like kind of deep and almost purple, like.
It's a fair point. It definitely is a similar color. To the point of where she is at the end, I saw a lot of theories saying it could be like Wundagore Mountain, which is like a secret magic place in Marvel that I don't know too much about besides the name, so I won't try to explain it.
I don't know much about it either, Joe, so it's fine.
But she's definitely somewhere.
Have you heard any other theories about where she possibly is?
No, I haven't. Have you?
Because I heard that, and I don't know how much weight I put into it because I don't necessarily subscribe to the theories anyway. I just read them and go like, "Wow, okay."
Wow.
But somebody said it's possible that the lake that she's on is water that is filled into the crater that used to be where Sokovia is, like the capital of Sokovia. Like that she's there. But then like the mountains don't necessarily look the same. I mean, it was kind of snowy, but I don't know. But I was like, that'd be kind of interesting if they did that to tie her back to there, but maybe, I don't know. I don't think it really fucking matters.
No, it doesn't ultimately matter.
She's trying to be secluded and stay far away, so the fact that we think we know where she is, she would hate that.
Yeah.
Just seeing her astral projected reading was like incredible.
Once they went past her with the camera, I was like, who's in the other room?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then they turned the corner and it's her, and I was like, whoa. If you gave me a list of, you told me to give you 10 characters that I think would have been in there, I wouldn't have put the Scarlet Witch. Yeah. So
they're also playing when it gets to her, it's either the same or it's similar to Doctor Strange's score.
Yep, it's the Doctor Strange score.
Yeah.
I think it's slightly different.
Right.
It's probably her version of it.
It's just I think it's just deeper notes all around it. I don't think it's the same exact.
Right.
There
like
might
it's the
be
same
a
piece of
WandaVision.
music on a different played a different way.
I was gonna say there might be the WandaVision theme mixed in. We should go back and listen to that.
The WandaVision theme permeated every theme throughout the show. The dun, 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 over and over again to the point that
everywhere.
I watched it. So I've actually watched the show all the way through. I haven't seen every episode 3 times, but I've watched the show 3 times, if that makes sense. Because the last episode I've only watched twice because it wasn't available when I rewatched it for the second time. But
fucking poser.
When I watched it when I rewatched it the second time with Nate leading up to the 8th episode, my friend Nate, hi Nate. He was humming the over and over again, and I didn't even think it was necessarily that catchy when he picked up on it. Like, to me, it wasn't. I didn't realize it till I watched that video.
Yeah.
There was a YouTube video of a guy who like put all of the pieces together, so you heard the tune over and over and over again everywhere that they played it. And then after that, obviously, I heard it everywhere. But Nate heard it in like the first episode and started humming it, which I thought was like, wow, they subconsciously got him the way that they really intended to. That's fantastic. And I even mentioned it to him. I just wanted to see it happen naturally. It was fantastic.
The music was great.
Yeah.
In this,
the theme songs were all good. They all were very specific to what was happening to the characters at the moment, which I thought was fantastic. Because that happened. The Malcom in the Middle. I think that was like the first one that I realized, hey, these lyrics are a little different in each one of these now.
Yeah.
Because of the style of the music, I think you have to pay attention to the lyrics more, just because they're like shouting it at. But it was the first time I was like, wait, are they saying something with every theme song? Oh my god. And then the other thing is the commercials in each episode.
Yeah.
Which people really dug into.
And
Yo Magic really messed me up.
It was the same actors in every single one of them. So she just had those people on deck, like just waiting to cut away to, which I thought was great.
The first commercial from the 50s episode didn't really seem like anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it kind of just seemed like it was a commercial for the era and that was it.
Yeah.
But later on you find out that the light that's beeping is the fucking bomb that didn't explode, which is like, and the design on it is like the same thing that's on the actual the missile itself, which I was just like, that's just such a fucking level that you're never gonna know that unless you rewatch it.
But
you're never gonna know that.
I think each commercial is indicating a piece of her trauma.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like the bomb,
Yeah.
and then you've got the explosion in Lagos with the napkins
Mhm.
and the paper
Mhm.
towels.
Hydra all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh, the Hydra soak.
And then you've got like the Strucker
Mm-hmm.
Industries, the watch with the clock faces where they look like the staff.
Mm-hmm.
So
The only things were Yo Magic and Nexus were things that she didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, is that coming from her? Is it coming from the Mind Stone? Is it coming from Agatha?
Yeah, because there was a lot of we discussed it, I think, a little bit via text, but there was a lot of discussion about what the Nexus meant,
yeah.
and everybody scrambled to find a meaning for the Nexus.
I don't think it's the Wi-Fi place.
But like, I think that's a good pull because that's also the name of it. So like, you don't know where they're going with it until the next episode, which is another detriment to not being able to watch it all the way through, because the show lends itself to people hanging on to details that maybe didn't need to. Like, maybe it was like her subconscious alerting her to the existence of the Nexus, which I'm assuming, for the purposes of the show, means the Nexus of the multiverse, which I'm assuming exists in Agatha's basement.
No.
Is what it seemed like at that point.
I think that was just like she built a little cubby basically for herself, like a little pocket world in the basement to sit in. I don't think that was the Nexus, though.
Okay, well, I mean, obviously, like, they didn't go any further within that to... But, I mean, there were doors to other universes that she was creating.
Yeah, but also, like, think of it like the Sanctum Sanctorum, like, where they just have doors going across the world.
To everywhere, yeah.
I think it was more like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it was the Nexus itself.
Granted, I don't know if, like, Agatha serves, like, a higher master or something, but...
Well, I mean, from the way that she was like, you're going to need me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You're going to need me. Wait. Like, it makes me think that she's aware of some incoming threat.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So.
But, like, the colors of the magic, I feel like, are not random in any way.
No.
Oh, definitely not.
And the purple of Agatha's magic, like, kind of really looks like the Dormammu dimension, like the dark dimension. It kind of just really looks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was
And
really
I'm sure
struck
it's
by
intentional. Like, because none of that is just like, oh yeah, just pick like purple, whatever.
that. Yeah,
Like,
it's a meticulously decided upon piece of information that they go through. Yeah, it's definitely not like, I don't know, cyan, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Just go to the color wheel and spin, and there you go.
yeah, no, it's definitely intentional. But like, speaking of like Agatha's magic, the Salem scene where the witch magic is like blue,
Yeah.
and then it's like Agatha is like a witch, and that's like her class, and then she has like special powers with it, like she has a special ability within her class, and that's like power sucking, like, and that's what she does.
Yeah.
And I think that it was so fucking cool that she used it twice, at least, within the show that we got to see, where she tried to use it on Wanda at the end of it, and it worked, but it really didn't work, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, the way that they pulled the thing with the runes, like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my
fantastic and really dedicated storytelling.
Yeah. And Amanda asked me afterward, she was like, so when did Wanda put the runes up? And I was like, I think technically she could have put them up immediately upon leaving Agatha's basement.
It was while they were fighting.
She was throwing,
Yeah.
upon rewatch,
Yeah.
she's throwing and missing Agatha, and it seems like it's accidental, but she's actually casting the fucking runes all the way around the head.
Yeah.
which I was like, holy
because
shit,
Vision
that was
goes
awesome.
after her to try to stop her, and she's like, "No, I got this." She basically
Yeah.
like gives him a look.
Yeah.
It felt a lot like Doctor Strange's gambit at the end of his movie. It
Yeah,
was like outsmarting the villain by seemingly giving himself up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which
Really
still
well. plays,
plays, by the way, because I rewatched Doctor Strange recently. That's absolutely still fantastic. It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the future of the MCU, and this show specifically opened that door. It opened an infinite amount of doors, actually, a multiverse of doors.
Of doors. Real fake doors.
Come on down to real fake doors. But yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to seeing my favorite Avenger, Wanda Maximoff, as the Scarlet Witch, maybe do something crazy with Doctor Strange.
Isn't it? Joe, you'd probably be able to confirm this more than anything, but she it almost was like she has the Phoenix Force.
That's
Right.
what I was thinking too.
It
From
was
the
very similarly.
She's
presented.
an Omega level threat. I don't know. Yeah. I don't. On like a power level, yeah, but it's not the same.
I think
No,
visually,
I'm not suggesting that it's the same at all.
Yeah.
I'm saying that like it almost looks as though
Like
if
she's
the
kind
Phoenix
of like
Force
drunk on
existed
it.
in the MCU, this was it.
In a way, yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's what it seems like her level of power is that, and they said
She
you're
said
going
she's
to
going to end the world.
Yes, which is like another allusion to that idea.
I think she's going to be the inciting incident in Doctor Strange, and like whatever the problem is, Wanda's going to cause it, and whether she's like a pseudo villain or if like she teams up with him off the bat, ultimately they'll probably team up by the end, I assume. But I think
I think that's
her-
a safe bet, but
Yeah.
I think for sure he's going to have to try to neutralize her, and that's the thing that's going to kick off his, because it's possible that with the post-credit scene, her hearing her son's voice through the void
right.
causes her to bust open the multiverse to find those children, because they exist somewhere within the multiverse.
Right.
And she's going to pull them out to bring them to her world. And Doctor Strange is not going to go for that because that's illegal.
But she's more powerful than the
I know.
Sorcerer Supreme.
Dude, how fucking awesome was that to just hear straight out?
Yeah.
Like, there's no more like, no, they're like here and here. They definitively told you which is which.
When I heard that had the same effect on me as hearing Dr. Stephen Strange in all the way back in the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it just gave me that feeling of like excitement for what's to come next.
Yeah.
So,
because especially if she's using the Darkhold, which is everybody's been assuming, which I think is probably correct, is the book that was missing from like the banned book list over in the Ancient One's house. There was a very obvious book missing, and this one might fit there.
yeah.
Which,
sure.
I mean, I don't know if he gets like a page on his multiversal threat pager to let him know somebody's using the book that's missing. But I feel like he's going to have something to say about it.
I mean, Wong's in charge of the library, so
That's true. That
too busy
motherfucker.
singing Beyonce.
But like, oh man. So what do you think hearing her son's voice from the beyond is? Because it sounded very poltergeisty, but is he going to go to the light or what?
I think it has to do with the multiverse theory. I think.
Yeah.
I think she's gonna go to a dimension where he does exist and whatever.
It could be that. I think it could be she goes to a different dimension. I feel like I've been hurt too many times about the multiverse in the MCU, being teased with it and then have it ripped out of my sweaty little fingers.
Well, Joe, we're gonna get Tobey Maguire
Yeah. Andrew Garfield ordered Uber Eats in Atlanta. Confirmed.
You heard it here first, folks, on Pop Kannon.
Oh my god.
But okay, so stupid comics thing is that Wanda grabbed just random soul pieces out of nowhere to make her babies in the comic books, and it ended up Agatha Harkness expounds that the pieces she grabbed were shards of Mephisto's soul.
Yes.
That then Mephisto was restored, and then on his next defeat somehow she was able to take those pieces and make Billy and Tommy within the world. And like it's really weird because like they have their own families and like their own parents, but like they still recognize like Wanda's my mom, but also these are my parents.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's comic books.
Yeah, no, I mean, I also think it's possible because Agatha kept saying like I could show you the errors in your spells and perfect them and make it so that like
she's like a Loki character though. Like you can't.
No,
trust
I know,
what she
but
says.
I'm just saying. I'm wondering if Wanda is looking for a way to make it possible to make it work.
I mean, the Darkhold is where that information would be. Because it's their fucking Necronomicon. Like it's the book of all of the bad.
There's a chapter
everything
that
bad
just
is in that
says
book.
How to make a baby, and then in parentheses alone.
How to undo auto delete.
Because there's so much that's like possible coming out of the end of that. Like, and that's what I think is really cool about it is that like the Westview story is over, but Wanda's story obviously continues forward, and Vision's story continues forward. But in what way? You know what I mean? Like we get everybody's ended up in a very weird place having gone through this.
See, I'm kind of not a fan of the idea of like White Vision being like the real Vision. Because it to me undersells his sacrifice in Infinity
I don't
War.
think they want you to think that though. I think he's something new. Like I think he's got all the data of the old Visions.
Yeah,
like,
but
for
it's
all
not
intents and
actually
purposes.
him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's gonna operate very differently.
Yeah.
And like there was the one theory that was floated out there was like Ultron when Shuri was separating Vision from the stone in Infinity War, because Ultron also exists within Vision's creation and
Data.
circuitry or whatever, that Ultron possibly was one of the things that got separated while she was doing that, like the Ultron code or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And it backed itself up to some cloud somehow, and then that Vision is somehow going to get it, and it become a different version of Ultron or whatever.
Maybe. I mean, that was how Jarvis survived in the first place, right? He hid himself within Ultron's code. So why wouldn't he do the same thing?
Yeah.
That's like very exciting, and it makes Age of Ultron that much more important within the MCU. Yeah. Which is like that movie is now like a huge hinge on everything that came after it.
I also love that Wanda's ending here is exactly what Vision said in Civil War he was trying to protect her from. Like his line of like, I want them to see you how I see you. And she ends up with everybody just terrified of her.
Which is definitely not what
and it's
he
also
meant.
She's now for the first time in her life completely alone. Like she doesn't have her brother, she doesn't have a team, she doesn't have the Vision. She's just Wanda.
And she's focused now. She's focused solely on forward, it feels like. Which is like great that we got this show to put all of that to bed for her. You know what I mean?
Well, this allowed her to let go. That was the
like
whole point.
We went with her through her journey of letting go.
She never got the emotional fallout from that because she vanished in the snap. You know, so...
she got a little extra trauma on the way, but she got there.
Yeah.
And Vision's like goodbye to her was fucking gut-wrenching, dude.
Dude, I cried both times I watched it. I cried.
Yeah.
Not afraid to admit that, because it was really beautiful. And Paul Bettany had such a great delivery in that final monologue. Like,
I mean, he's been delivering really well the entire time he's been in employment with them.
Yeah. Even as Jarvis, he was like, he was a screen
That's what I mean.
stealer
Like, his
without a
delivery
body.
as Jarvis was fucking whip sharp.
Yeah.
Like, it hasn't gotten any worse. It's just changed. Like, and the fact that his delivery has changed so much.
But the way that he walked into that room and he turned the light on and he's like, the way he delivers that line about, I heard it's not good to say goodbye in the dark. Like, just something about it it's charming and it's like comforting.
Yeah.
And it's playful because she calls him on it and she's no, he didn't.
And then they get in that moment to showcase that chemistry again, like as it's coming to a close, like that little back and forth really quick, because I mean it was like you said earlier, man, it was great throughout. Their chemistry was fucking palpable.
It's there. Yeah.
Even just the gut-wrenching idea of like, how do you put your kids to bed the night that they're gonna be unmade? Like, that's insane.
And people are analyzing her thank you for choosing me to be your mom line.
That's like such a mom line, but I mean, it could be something. Who knows?
Yeah. What does it mean? Mephisto.
So, real quick, do we have a favorite moment from the show? If you had to pick one, just off the top of your head. It doesn't have to be like the moment, but a favorite moment from the show.
I mean, I really liked the Vision fight and then becoming what it was. Like, I really liked that. He started like doing the only thing he really knew how to do was just fight him. But then realizing, like, if he's me, I can talk to him because I would listen too. And them going through that. But I also just really liked all of the tropey sitcom stuff that they went through at the beginning. Like, the tropes are there because it's like tried and true, but then like when you execute them perfectly, it doesn't show as like corny anymore. You know what I mean? Like it, and I feel like they just hit every note of those all the way through.
I think for me, my favorite moment in the show was the snap, the return from the snap, because of the gravitas of that situation. I just loved seeing that finally on screen. It made me audibly scream out loud at the television, like, oh my God, or whatever.
When she ran into that dude in the hallway, it was very jarring.
But also, like, just those moments between Vision and Wanda throughout, like, it really captured the emotion and made me give a shit about their relationship. So, Joe, what about you? Anything?
The most like heart-racing thing was when she expanded the hex for me, and just like seeing like like it was just funny to see it all turn to a circus, but like just like the urgency of everyone like trying to get away, and it like just like nipping at the back of the car.
That was cool.
And of course that was like the cliffhanger moment. To like really like most of Teyana Paris's scenes, but especially in episode 4, I think, is when they show you the conversation that led to her expulsion. But like when as soon as Wanda mentions Pietro, like her whole demeanor just changes because she gets it. Like she's like, that's what this is about, and like it all falls into place for her right there. And just like without, she does like go into question it later, but like without saying a word, like the performance that she gave was just amazing.
And then they circle back to that moment at the end where she's like, I would do the same thing to see my mom again.
Right.
She's like, so there's
right.
there's
Especially
no hard feelings here.
Because like I loved her origin and like her going through the barrier, but like
3 times
without those scenes about her relating and having that grief as well, Monica like doesn't really have a place in the story, but like that really
Right.
roots her in this story that
Yeah.
like she needed to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't even really talk about Evan Peters.
No.
Boner.
But like it was fun to see him show up and get to play around in this sandbox for a while. And if that's all that this was, then so be it. And I'm sure he was glad to be able to come in and
do it.
Get to do that role again within the MCU.
Do you think he keeps the powers?
Well, no, because it was imbued in him in that necklace.
Were the powers in the necklace?
Yeah, I feel like
that's what I was led.
That was what was
Yeah.
that was the enchantment on him, was that. So I feel like he wouldn't be able to go fast now
Yeah, maybe.
because he doesn't even remember what happened. But I thought it was really like it was absolutely a jaw dropper when they reveal him, because I was like, holy shit, they're doing it.
Yeah.
And they did, but not really. And there's like 3 different meta levels to having him play that character.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking so deep and crazy. Just like on a universal level, like the fact that that guy lived in town and all of that shit. Just happened to look, like we know, like just like constant winks towards the audience throughout the show. I feel like, and that's definitely one of the biggest ones, obviously. But I don't necessarily want people to be upset that that's probably it for him doing Quicksilver. But like, dude, come on, man, like, what the fuck?
That character's already had its moment.
They gave this to you. You know what I mean? Like, what a fucking playful, like, could you imagine if anything else was like this playful with their audience and people were like, oh, I don't like that because it's not what I wanted. Like, come on.
Yeah. Joe, what'd you think about Evan Peters?
Like I said, like it was frustrating between like Spider-Man Far From Home and with the Evan Peters cameo, basically, to have like the idea of that multiverse dangled in front of me and then ripped away, which like it's in the title of Doctor Strange, so it better fucking happen now.
No, well, see, it's the multiverse of madness because you're just going to be mad because they're going to talk about it the whole time.
It's just Doctor Strange on Twitter the whole time laughing.
The second post-credit scene, somebody will fall through a portal and go to another multiverse, and
but it's
then
Sonic the Hedgehog.
in the next thing we'll see an actual multiverse, but then they'll change it again.
No. It'll be Spider-Man 2099 from Into the Spider-Verse showing up, and then it'll just be just a CG cutscene for post credits, and that's it.
Well, I think even What If should tie into the multiverse in some way. Like
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like I think they should say like these are possible realities.
Yeah,
like it would be really awesome if What If one of the middle episodes of What If was actually an origin story for something that they're going to go forward with. Like,
it ends with Billy and Tommy calling their mom.
Yeah,
backdoor pilot.
Dude, no, let's call her. It'll be funny. Mom, and then cut to. And
it actually happens within the Malcolm in the Middle episode, and it was Evan Peters' ID. He says, "No, just pretend you're dead. It'll be so funny."
Oh my god,
she's gonna hate it.
It's like the fucking circles upon itself.
But
that's awesome.
Yeah. So beyond my multiversal frustration, I did enjoy him coming back to that role in its own way, and he really brought like the chaotic Big Brother energy to the Malcolm in the Middle episode.
For sure.
That like really fit in with that era.
Yeah.
He was Francis, essentially.
So, any final thoughts on WandaVision?
I think it was fantastic. Definitely probably going to have to re-binge it before Doctor Strange, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
But Doctor Strange 2, I should say. But I think it was just like really, really well executed, and the disappointment surrounding it from the fan reaction, I think, is like fucking bullshit. But that's just me. That's why we do this.
Showbiz, baby.
I really, really loved this show. It's going to become annual part of my MCU rewatch. So when I do go through everything, this will more than likely be in that.
Oh yeah.
Fantastic.
Like in a rewatch where you're doing everything, this has to be in
It's
it.
got to be at this point. But I'm very excited for the future. I'm very excited for more Elizabeth Olsen in the MCU. She's my favorite Avenger. She's been my favorite Avenger. And I literally cannot wait to see the Scarlet Witch as the Scarlet Witch.
Right.
So, Joe.
I love this. I think we even forgot to mention that this was the first Marvel content we've gotten in over a year.
Over a year.
Yeah.
And it really, like, it just was almost overwhelming, like, coming back to that. Like, I didn't know how I was going to feel with new content coming out.
I forgot how it felt.
Yeah, after Far From Home was, like, the last thing we got, I think. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, I'm very excited for the future of the universe. I'm excited for these new series coming out. I'm even excited for the making of episode that's coming out next week.
Yes.
You know, we're coming off of a really shitty year that seems to be a shitty year and a half at least. But the future of being a nerd it seems pretty bright.
Nerd future's up!
To the moon! Taking vision to the moon!
And you know what that means. You're going to get plenty more content coming from your boys at Pop Kannon.
Thank God.
And this has been our WandaVision episode. So thank you very much for watching and or listening. If you would like, you can follow us on social media at Pop Kannon.
Yeah, check out our new logo.
Yeah, it's very, very pretty. We are also available on your favorite podcast platforms, so make sure you are subscribed on there, as well as on YouTube.
And you can always rate and leave a review for us, because those help. And we don't have a lot of like written reviews, so it'd be like sweet if you did that.
Yeah. As always, you could follow us individually. My name is Jordan, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JL24FPS.
I'm still Robert, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Yesball.
I am Joe. You can find me on Twitter at Joe4Broke. That's FOR.
FOR. FOR, bro.
So, once again, thank you very much for checking this out. We have a ton of new stuff coming in the next few weeks and months, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I think our next episode will be the illustrious Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
4-hour film. So get ready to hear us talk about it for probably 4 hours.
So
but that's next.
That's next. This has been WandaVision. For Pop Kannon, I'm Jordan.
I'm Robert.
I'm Joe.
Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the next one.